Hey. Welcome, 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 everybody. Man, what a beautiful day we had here in Clayton, North Carolina today. Okay. I'm telling you, it was beautiful. I think it bumped up against 62, 63 degrees and sunshine. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I'm telling you, I so enjoyed hanging out on the deck while everybody was calling and um, during the calling hours of 12 to 4. I enjoyed talking with everybody today, and we even got a couple of things going on at the house, and all that was taken care of. Man, what a very blessed day I've had. So I want to thank everybody for jumping on. A lot of people are still jumping on. Let's say hello to the sheepdogs while we're at it. Hey, Mr. Sheepdog, how are you?
Hey, Mike. Doing good. It was beautiful here today in Texas. It started off cold, but it turned out to be really, really nice. Sat out in the sun for a little bit, and it's been a really nice day.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, clear blue
Awesome.
sky.
Wait a minute, your
Just
voice just changed again. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
she's got a frog in her throat.
Right, right.
But
Oh man,
cool day today though.
cool, cool, cool. The a lot of good information came out today too, and we're gonna kind of get started on some of that here in just a second. But the uh, the cool thing is that um, a lot of people are a lot happier in the past few weeks than they've been in a while, and people are embracing the coming change at an awesome rate. Okay, while they understand that there is a sense of urgency to get the information down and to how they're beginning to find ways to protect themselves and their family in the coming changes in a good way. I don't mean in a bad way. Um, a lot of good is happening um, to support that. And while we know that the United States government and all the NPCs or players that are involved, I should say, um, in liquidating it and whatever else is going to happen with it, right? When we talk about the corporation, that is, um, it's coming down, and for quite a few people, it's going to be a shock, but it's going to be good for another set of people, right? And we are the ones that will be here for those that it'll be a shock to because we've already gone through most of our shock therapy, right? In finding out a lot of the truths. That's why we're called the truth seekers, I guess. But yesterday's show, we talked about the Clearfield Doctrine and the Chevron piece that's added to that. And it's all compiling together because this was released today. Rod shared it, but post by Ray Settler from the U.S. Department of Justice. Okay, it's an official post. I don't know what the link is to the official post, but I'm sure you can find it on one of the .gov sites. Okay, like the DOJ.gov or something. I haven't gone and looked for it, but I knew it was coming, and here we are. We talked about it yesterday. Um, the sheepdogs and I shared quite a bit of information surrounding it, right? And we talked about nationality yesterday, and still a large concern for even those people that are awake is the operation of these corrupt and criminal courts and judges. Um, this posting and the recent conversations or is going to help everybody understand that we're getting ready to see the collapse of the administrative law judges and the bar attorneys. Okay, remember last Wednesday we read from the book Nasara one, and it emphatically said there will be no attorneys. Okay, when this is all flipped. Attorneys will go away as we know them. Period, point blank. All right, so all those folks talking about attorneys are the bar is changing its ways and yada yada yada. Uh-oh. Let me get to .com. Let me see right quick. Give me 1 second, folks. They say the .com's not working, but it's working on my end. Let me refresh it on the back side and see if it'll start working on the front side. Okay, everybody check, see if the .com is working now.
Did you refresh the backside of that thing, Mike?
I refreshed the backside of it. Give it a good swift kick in the ass and make it go. Yes. Okay, cool. It's working now. Thank you. All right. So to jump back in, this post was shared today after we just talked about the Clearfield Doctrine yesterday that we read from Todd, right? And so this is a little more detailed about the political satire theater, legal ease action to take it all down. All right. So the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of the Solicitor General, 950 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C., February 20th, 2025. Okay, so it came out, 4 days ago. Multi-layer restrictions on the removal of administrative law judges declared unconstitutional, Washington, D.C. That's the title. All right. The Department of Justice, the DOJ, has formally determined that multiple layers of removal restrictions for administrative law judges, better also known in this post as ALJs, in 5 U.S. Code 1202, subsection D, and 7521, subsection A, violate the Constitution. The department will no longer defend these restrictions in court and has affirmed this position in ongoing litigation. Constitutional violations and judicial overreach. In Free Enterprise Fund versus PCOAB 561 U.S. 477 in 2010. Okay, the year was 2010. The Supreme Court ruled that the multi-layer protection from removal violates Article 2 by unlawfully restricting the president's executive authority. The ruling clarified that the president must not be restricted in his ability to remove executive officers, including inferior officers such as ALJs, administrative law judges. Further, statutory provisions restricting the president's ability to remove principal officers, who in turn are blocked from removing inferior executive officers, are unconstitutional. The DOJ has determined that ALJs operating under those unlawful protections lack any valid jurisdictional stand or judicial standing. Okay. Implications and trump Article 2 authority. Pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution, the president has the full authority and obligation. Okay. You need to make note of that. He has the obligation. Okay. And we need to be posting on social media, Mr. President, you need to take care of your obligation to remove ALJs and the attorneys. All right. But he has the full authority and obligation to immediately terminate all unlawful ALJs operating in federal tribunals, which is federal court cases. Okay. Override unconstitutional restrictions that hinder executive authority. Restore full due process protections for the American people by removing unlawful administrative courts. That includes the federal and local levels, folks. That's the overreach. Justice Neil Gorsuch has extensively criticized the use of unconstitutional administrative proceedings that bypass the constitutional right to a jury trial and unlawfully strip people of their property without due process. He has stated, government agencies have been acting as judge, jury, and executioner without any lawful authority. The Bar Guild control and fraudulent securities. Okay, the Bar Guild control. The DOJ has further identified the unlawful influence of private bar guild members controlling these corporate tribunals, which are operating under statutory fraud rather than constitutional law. Engaged in securities trading via court registry investment systems, CRIS. Facilitating land title fraud through land registers, Westpac, ACIS, AFSA, and others. The Clearfield Doctrine 2008 confirms that when government agencies trade securities, they forfeit their sovereign immunity and become private entities engaging in commerce. Unlawful administrative courts are operating for-profit corporate entities in direct violation of the Constitution's separations of power, the right to due process and jury trials, federal law prohibiting unauthorized security tradings. The president must act now. Given these findings, President Trump holds the full authority under Article 2 to dissolve unconstitutional administrative courts, fire ALJs operating without constitutional standing, shut down unlawful securities trading schemes, restore due process, property rights, and financial justice to the people. The NACC and other corruption commissions have failed to investigate these systemic violations. The DOJ calls for immediate corrective action to dismantle this unlawful system. DOJ positions and next steps. The DOJ will no longer defend these unconstitutional restrictions in court and reaffirms that ALJs, administrative law judges, have no lawful judicial standing. President Trump has the authority to dissolve these administrative courts immediately. All fraudulent securities trading and land registry fraud must be exposed and prosecuted. For further inquiries, please contact U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Solicitor General, 950 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C. Of note, Chief Justice Neil Gorsuch, Justice Neil Gorsuch's critiques, okay? Justice Neil Gorsuch has repeatedly exposed the unlawful practices of administrative courts and bar-led systems. His critiques emphasizes the need for constitutional adherence and the reaction of statutory overreach. In Ramos versus Louisiana, 2020, Justice Gorsuch stated the Sixth Amendment's right to a trial by jury is incorporated against the states under the 14th Amendment, and it requires a unanimous verdict to convict a defendant of a serious offense. If his critique of administrative overreach, Gorsuch emphasized the dangers of agencies acting as both prosecutors and judges. He noted, today the court places a tombstone on Chevron no one can miss. Today, the court places a tombstone on Chevron no one can miss. In doing so, the court returns judges to enter creative rules that have guided federal courts since the nation's founding. Justice Gorsuch further highlighted that bar members, as creatures of statutes, cannot practice law or simultaneously act as a witness and attorneys. They cannot practice law and simultaneously act as a witness and attorneys. Their authority is limited to let me respond to Steve right quick. Is limited to corporate rules and does not extend to lawful courts of record. Of note, Chief Justice Neil Gorsuch states, bar member Chief Justice Neil Gorsuch demands fellow bar FARA agencies by immediate demand, wish and order that you restore all that has been unlawfully taken without constitutionally mandated due process. SEC versus Jarkissi. Docket number 22-859. Date argued 11/29/23. Justice Gorsuch, please take notice that as agency workers, state judges, presiding judges, state legislators, etc., that are bound by the Constitution that you have all sworn to uphold, and from this time forward, please be advised that taking children, cars, houses, weapons, rights, property, etc., without a trial by jury in a court of record following the course of the common law is unlawful. Boom, 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 boom. Please also take further notice that attorneys who do not have their name on the line, as they are not in positions of service and contract with the people, presenting you with the idea that it's acceptable to trample the people's rights by device or artifice, does not in any way remove responsibility of your wrongdoings. They're not going to get away with it. Furthermore, there is another element of wrong being committed when you are working in a federal program and make money outside of your normal salary for carrying out the functions of that program, leaving one with unclean hands on top of taking property or rights from the people without right. All past cases that bypass the common law are unlawful. Wow, that opened a big can of worms. They better get ready. They're about to feel the wrath of the people. Therefore, it is my immediate demand, wish, and order that you restore all that has been unlawfully taken without constitutionally mandated due process. And with full knowledge, intent, and malice, and will be recognized as such by the people whom you swore to serve and protect. This notice is sent to you in the peace and love of Jesus Christ, that you may repent and do works worthy of the same. Maximum judicial notice is a form of evidence. Man versus Man, 172, page P, 2D, subsection 2D, 369, 375, and 76, Cal App 2D 32. All right. If that didn't just lower the boom on the court system and bringing it all down, then I don't know what will. But I'm telling you, the lawyers and the judges and the courts just got their due notice. Okay, this is the last time, from what I understand. Remember, January the 4th, they were sent cease and desist. They had until January the 20th. Okay. Now the boom has been lowered because they are still acting. Um, the attorney, our gang stalking all my contacts. Just said, "Why Miss Brandy isn't me." Um. All right. Okay, so the hammer is coming down, folks. What we're building to is this big nest of what did I call it a couple of years ago? This big zit, right? This building is building up pressure and it's about to pop. So we got the threat of the gold being the lack of gold being exposed in Fort Knox. Okay, some people are saying that it's been moved back from Europe to Fort Knox. That's all bullshit. Okay, how do you move the gold back without first telling the people that it wasn't there in the first place, right? Um, so that's part of it. That would collapse the dollar. This is going to collapse the courts. That's why we need to spread this around and spread this around on social media so that enough people see it. Okay. The tax thing with Doji and all the corruption being exposed through Doji is happening. And mind you, folks, these people are playing both sides of the fence. The Matrix is going to still exist because people are asleep. All right, but they will be all right. They're going to get their lessons, and those that don't want to wake out of the Matrix will be able to live in it. I don't think that'll last too long because it's not going to be fun. When you live in the countryside of a rural area, and you're pretty much happy as long as everybody leaves you alone, right? And you can ignore even what's going on. You won't be able to ignore it no more if you continue to be a U.S. citizen, because they're going to move your ass to a 15-minute city, a freedom city, and put you under the false sense of security that you so want. Okay, and I'm not speaking bad about anybody. All right, I'm just telling you, there's some people that are going to have some hard lessons. Okay. Yeah, there's some people that are going to have some hard lessons. Okay, many of us got family members who. Hang on one second, Sheepdog, take over for a second. All right.
All right. Did he say just for a second, or does he want me to take over?
Oh, he's had to take a call.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let me go to share screen here. All right. Today's comms was the golden toilet.
Yeah.
I think the other day was two black swans were kidnapped or goose napped, and then brought back because the block was too hot. Couldn't sell the just black swans on the market. So now we got the golden toilet.
Definitely comms.
If it'll load. a second. Okay. All right. Well, let's just go to while that's loading. IRS agent confirms that you are not required to pay income tax. I'm sure we've heard this before. I know this audience has, right?
Yeah, that's a good one still.
Is it?
There is no law, and to date, nobody has been able to show that there is a law for the average American citizen working day in and day out to pay an income tax.
The We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education put a full-page ad in the USA Today on July 7th, 2000. And within the body of that ad was a $50,000 challenge for anyone that could show the law. And to me, $50,000 is a lot of money. So I went after that and did the research based on the fact that I thought, let's put this baby to bed. I'm hearing all these rumors. You know, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'll answer these people's questions that are asking me, and then I'll win this $50,000. And, you know, based on the research that I did throughout the year 2000 and that I'm still doing, I have not found that law. I've asked Congress, we've asked a lot of people in the IRS commissioners, helpers. They can't answer, because if they answer, the American people are going to know that this whole thing is a fraud.
There is no law. There is no law that requires the average American worker in the private sector to pay a direct unapportioned tax on their labor and compensation for services. There is no law.
I really expected that, of course, there's a law that you can point to in the law book, the code that requires you to file a tax return. Of course there is. I mean, I don't know what it is right then as he was speaking to me, but sure. So naively, I agreed to go off and research it and get back to him. 3.5 months later, I was at that point where I couldn't find the statute that clearly made a person liable, at least not me and most people I know. And I had no choice in my mind except to resign.
I had to leave the IRS because I presented evidence that I had accumulated indicating that the agency was violating the law and violating people's rights. And I asked the agency for a response to my sincere concerns. And the answer I got was that they would not respond to my concerns and that they would provide me with the paperwork necessary to tender my resignation.
You can look through the statutes and look for the law that requires you to pay. And when you do that, you can't identify a law that requires the average person in America who earns a wage, works in private business, to pay an income tax.
American citizens, along with the foundation, have been asking the IRS to specifically provide them with the underlying legal foundation upon which they administer and enforce the personal income tax laws in our country.
At the national level, when people would attempt to contact somebody of a much higher authority, say the commissioner, same kind of thing. They would get answers that were in effect non-answers.
You have to understand that an agency which will unlawfully impose a tax that doesn't exist is not going to care. If we, the people, don't know what our rights are, they're not going to tell us.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
100% of what is collected is absorbed solely by interest on the federal debt. All individual income tax revenues are gone before 1 nickel is spent on the services taxpayers expect from government. People have been told, that you need this income tax system to fund government, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, my question is, well, if that's true, how did we fund government from 1776 to 1913?
The main purpose of the income tax is not to raise revenue, but to redistribute wealth and to control society.
And a lot of people might say, well, gee, if there wasn't an income tax, what would happen to education? They don't understand that education is paid for the most part, out of state and local taxes, your property tax. People might say, well, how are we going to build and maintain our highways if there's no money coming into the government? We need our highways. There is a tax on every gallon of gasoline that people buy. Proceeds from the income tax do not pay for highway construction.
I believe that in both spirit and substance, our tax system has come to be un-American. Death and taxes may be inevitable, but unjust taxes are not.
This small booklet includes the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. This is a document that every citizen should read. It's a document which freed an entire nation. This is the Internal Revenue Code, and this document, and the unlawful application of this document by the Internal Revenue Service has enslaved the nation that this document attempted to free.
Boom. Man. Ain't that hardcore right there? Okay, let me, hold on. Oh, here we go. There you are. All right. You back with me?
Mike.
No, I'm talking to you.
Oh, yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I got booted there for a minute.
All right. Let's see if the golden toilet's ready to go. Yeah, there's the golden toilet. That was stolen. Anyways.
First, though, the trial over a stolen toilet. But this toilet was made from solid gold. A group of thieves stole the toilet from the birthplace of Winston Churchill. It's 18-karat gold, fully functioning. It weighs more than 215 pounds and is valued at $6 million.
Hey, babe, get that toilet out of there. We're going to...
Right? What's it doing in that little small space like that?
Did you just take a shit on a $6 million toilet?
Right?
And it weighed how many pounds?
$6 million. It weighs more than 215 pounds and is valued at $6 million. Wow. These thieves managed to steal it in less than 5 minutes. It was stolen in September of 2019. It's never been recovered. To be clear, even though it works, this toilet is actually an installation by the frequently satirical artist named Maurizio Catalan. He made the piece to poke fun at extreme wealth. It's titled America. 2 men are on trial right now, and a third has already pleaded guilty. I would love to see the surveillance video footage of 3 guys carrying a giant golden toilet.
They mentioned how heavy that was.
215, yeah.
Also,
Okay.
the mirror aspect of that is very unsettling.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
I think that's the least of your...
All right. All right, so we're going to go into to some of the buildings, and then we'll go into some other stuff I got.
Yes, you are correct, Don. Thank you, Sheepdog. I appreciate it, man. Keep going. I needed that phone call. It helped me confirm something that I was working on today.
All right. It's only a few minutes, but it's a good little video, and then we'll get into the debt discharge. So it says right here, a few centuries ago, possibly in the early 1800s, a devastating worldwide mud flood buried homes, public buildings, and infrastructure up to 30 feet of soil. we see the circles, right? All the technology in the buildings up high.
Yep.
This is a good example. This is after the mud flood. You see how high it is up? They just built steps out from one of the doors on the side. See right here? And then once they dug it out, you still see the line right here.
Yeah, yeah.
It goes down several stories lower. See all the mud. You wouldn't have mud roads, but buildings like this, right? The road would look just as good.
Exactly.
So this was like a reset.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, this is the illusion created to keep you from knowing about the things that Rod have talked about with the Ice Age and all of that, right?
Yeah, well,
This
they
is
hit
one of the illusions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, they hit 1,000 years right there in front of your face with those buildings, right? You don't know
That's
who built
right.
them, and it goes back, even the mounds and stuff like that. But it says where these dusty streets once beautifully paved and decorated, just like the elaborate buildings they stretch along. Yeah. This video is going to get into some more stuff. It's only 2 minutes left, but these buildings were old back then. Where's everybody at? You can't build something like that today. This is why are our history books completely silent on this catastrophic event? The reset. And then it says because the mud flood is likely hiding a reset that perhaps occurred in the early 1800s. And then we had Civil War that went around blowing shit up. And the War of 1812. It says, what a coincidence that the Bavarian Mason New World Order agenda commenced about 50 years earlier in 1776. So the New World Order.
Right. Yep, they had it planned.
The Illuminati. hidden hand, right? Hidden hand, hidden history, hidden timeline. Because what was it in 1876? Or what was it, 88? The shadow
For
government
what?
commenced.
Yeah, it was. Hold on, let me find it.
It was 1888. Right, because they drafted the Constitution in, what was it, 87?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
They drafted it. They drafted this version, the latest, one of the latest, the Federalist version in 87 and 89, right? 1787, 1789.
Yeah,
They started on it in 1781, right?
It's got the red star next to it highlighted.
Oh, the 1861. 1861
Yeah,
is when they did the
1861.
coup d'etat, and the shadow government came in after that. 10 years later in 1871, when they did the Act of Congress.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. And that's when your shadow government started. So I just wanted to show you that how all this has played out over the last 200 something years, and you didn't even know it. But most people aren't even aware of the buildings. They don't even know who built them. They think everybody in 1800s on horse and buggy, cowboys and Indians was out building buildings like that.
Right. They used the horse and buggies because all the mud, I guess. Right? To get around.
Yeah, shovels was a big market back then too.
Yeah, because they had the buses. They were pulling the trolleys by horse. The trolleys that I guess some of them survived it, but they still had the tracks on the ground too. Crazy, huh?
Yeah. All right. So note, my feeling is that the little season of Revelations 20 and 7, which I showed you, where it says they reigned, they lived and reigned with him for 1,000 years. It began during the Renaissance in the 16th century, when the Roman Empire, the first beast from the first century, rose again. All right. And that the barbarian Mason New World Order started in 1776, when a worldwide reset was planned, was possibly put in place. We also had the War of 1812, 1811. Incidentally, we know with certainty that the mud flood happened sometime post-Millennium Kingdom, because many of the buildings from this 1,000-year period of peace and prosperity have their ground floors buried, which is what we're showing you right here. So we see the Illuminati card, rewriting history. All right. Researchers believe that depopulation occurred. The centers were placed in mental asylums, which we showed you the mental asylums they put them in. Free energy was stopped, right? But you still see it in the buildings. Advanced technology was hidden, and history books were either suppressed or completely rewritten. So that's where your free energy went after the reset. But it's right here in your face with the mercury.
Yep, the red mercury.
It's high science. The same as they talk about within, it's without as well. The same.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's how they get the free energy.
That's when they were destroying all the books too around that time too. Right? The ones that they
Yeah.
had left.
Yeah. That's why I made today's thumbnail. When you talk about the books, you know, we're in this time where we're seeing all the corruption being done by Joji, right? And some people are saying this right here. It's almost as if the economy is being run by a guy who bankrupted 4 casinos.
Oh my gosh. That's true.
It was bankrupt under Lincoln.
Do what?
Yeah, it was.
They went bankrupt under Lincoln.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's why Trump has that big Lincoln head in the back on his office.
Yep.
Right?
That
Yep.
bust. Yep.
Yep, the Lincoln bust. Yep.
He also has Washington, which Washington, the original Washington was a Moor. He was killed and replaced by Adam Weishaupt, who started the Illuminati.
1776, May 1st.
1770. Yep. So.
And I'm sure before that. But
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're not on screen, Big Dog.
Yeah, no screen.
you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. It says, what caused the mud flood? Was it an all-natural event that our controllers simply took advantage of? Or was it perhaps induced by the enemy via geoengineering? Where they can make it rain for days on end? But it says we will need to stand strong in the Lord and ride out this little season, which is what the last they're going to release. They released him for what, a few hundred years, and they're going to lock his ass back up forever.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, which talking about Lincoln, right? On February 23rd, which was what, yesterday, 1861. President-elect Abraham Lincoln quietly slipped into Washington, D.C. to prepare for his inauguration on March 4th. Accompanying him was the U.S. Marshal Ward Hill Lamont, Democrat, D.C., a friend and former law partner. Again, 10 years later, the shadow government commenced. And they assassinated Lincoln. And that was the end of that.
Wow. Cindy said that gold toilet for Winston Churchill cost over $27,000 a pound. I guess Winston Churchill had a gold toilet. Maybe that was what that was talking about.
$27,000 a pound of what?
I wasn't going to go there, but I did snicker.
I
did
could hear him
snicker.
giggling. I thought you were thinking that.
Are you saying we can make some money on the toilet?
Was he eating it too?
Oh. Ooh. Shit runs deep.
Yep. Oh, I just found out.
Make this doo-doo up.
No. No.
You just found out today?
Oh, today I was watching some old historical videos on Houston and stuff like that, and I found out that the Rice Hotel, you know, the last speech that JFK had spoken at right here with this, when he wrote this, the sailboat right here. It was one of his last little drawings with a diamond in the sky.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So,
At the Rice Hotel, right?
yeah. Go ahead and tell him, Miss Sheepdog.
What? About the Rice Hotel?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a Tartary building, right? I forgot what it was.
It was it's the capital. It was the original capital of the Republic.
Oh, yes. Texas capital, yep.
Yeah, it was the original capital of Houston, of the Republic of Texas. So that was symbolic with JFK visitation there in the last 11/21. I think he wrote that. Yeah, December. Yeah,
Yep.
November 20. Yeah.
Right before he was assassinated, yep. The last speech he gave. I sent you the article. That golden toilet was stolen from Sir Winston Churchill's home and has been split up.
I just want the handle.
I sent you the article. Look at it when you get a chance.
I'm not going to touch the warning of the handle. I'm not going to say a word.
Hasn't Trump sat in with Churchill's seat before?
Yeah. Maybe that's why they were playing that. Remember that video we were watching? It was done by AI, and he was sitting on that gold toilet. Trump was.
Oh,
yeah.
It was a little video that came across our feed, and it was like done by AI. But we were just like, "What? Well, that's so weird." But I guess that's what it was talking about.
He was taking a shit on the golden toilet while his
Elon was mopping. Was it Elon that was mopping?
Yeah, Queen Elon.
Yeah.
Queen Elon. He was in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see where we're at here. Make sure I got it. This is kind of what Joe's been talking about the last few months, but this is more of an educational purposes. I'm gonna just flip through it real quick, but I'm gonna read it. Go back and read it. But this is what it's fixing to look like. You're gonna have some visuals for the people that need to see it instead of just hearing somebody read about it. We have some pictures for you as we get into this, how to discharge a debt. Fast track file, the admin process of getting out of debt edition. And forgive us our debts, and we forgive our debtors. Matthew 6:12. Disclaimer: the material in this essay is for educational purposes only and not to be construed as legal advice about what you should or should not do. The information herein is to assist you in performing your own due diligence before implementing any strategy. This is a continuance from Fast Track File 1, Part 1. And if you have not acquired that document from iselflawmmaster.com, first, we highly recommend going back and doing so. Definition of debt discharge: the cancellation of forgiveness of a debt. Debt discharge results in taxable income to the debtor unless the forgiveness is a gift or bequest. Brief background: first and foremost, with the process, we provide one must be a secured creditor who has effectively set up their UCC contract trust account with the Treasury before they can start utilizing security instruments to discharge debt. I'll start off by saying that there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Discharging a debt is not so much about a specific process, but more of a overstanding the situation at hand. First, let's start off with the law and understanding that nobody can give you a charge without also offering you a remedy. There's always an administration process. For example, nobody can just serve you with a paper saying you owe them money without first giving you the proper due notice in advance to speak for yourself in fair justice. In a sense, that's your remedy. What is a due notice? Due notice is the information that must be given or made available to a particular person or to the public within a legally mandated period of time so that its recipient will have the opportunity to respond to a situation or to allegations that affect the individual's or public's legal rights or duties. It's important to remember that your future discharge presentments to creditors will be a proper due notice that they are mandated to follow. And if they do not respond within 72 hours, it's a contract agreement by law. That's a key to remember. Now, let's move on to why you have the ability to discharge debt and why being a secured creditor is important. Always remember, in commerce, if someone brings a claim of charge against you, they must also offer a remedy. In the case of dealing with creditors, your remedy is your ability to discharge. I repeat, in the case of dealing with creditors, your remedy is your ability to discharge the debt against you with something called an exemption account. The exemption account is the concept of having an exemption from having to pay for anything because there is no money of substance with which to pay. The exemption can also be thought of as an accounting of what the government owes us for everything that they have taken from our parents and us without giving a valuable consideration in return. This is why properly setting up your estate with the IRS following the steps in the First Track File Part 1 is so important. When you have arranged your affairs with the Treasury Acts as your account, giving your access to your straw man bond as an exemption to discharge debts against your estate. Head of Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, this is who's in control of your treasurers. Is he still in control of it? And executes your exemption on behalf of the United States, Inc. Remember, after you have effectively filed your non-UCC transmitting utility lien filing, you will now become the first lien holder on your estate's property with a multi-million-dollar lien, meaning no one can charge your estate with an obligation without first settling your $1 million lien secured by your bond. For example, when you're a secured creditor, companies like Wells Fargo cannot charge you money for a school loan without first paying off the $1 million lien secured by your bond. So what happens to their debt claim, since the creditor's charged amount is smaller than your transmitting utility filing lien? Simply put, your lien absorbs the debt to discharge the obligation on behalf of your treasury bond. Let's understand bonds for a moment. As briefly explained in the First Track File Part 1, your birth certificate, Social Security, etc., is all tied up in a treasury bond that was put on the stock market at your birth. It is now currently worth millions, some billions. Every 14th Amendment U.S. citizen is livestock being traded on the commercial market every day. And now you are gaining control to change all that. In the first track we teach you how to authenticate your instrument and take control of your bond in commerce. The key is to use that big $1 million straw man bond to discharge smaller commercial claims, which are also bonds, and against your estate. So they took your estate and made it a state. They took the E off. Subscription bill. The account number is a bond, an agreement or obligation between a corporation and your corporate straw man, name in all caps, not you as a living soul. And I know we go over this quite a lot, and it may get redundant, but we have to, right? Because once you wake up to this, you free yourself from servitude. So when you learn how to properly utilize your treasury bonds, it's basically a game of big bank takes little bank, right? And your victorious bond is your exemption to live free of sin, which is death. The story of Jesus and the metaphorical to him dying on the cross for your sins, your exemption, so that we could live free of bondage. Let us remember that IRS 301.7701 Tax 7 Trust Domestic and Foreign. A trust is a United States person, meaning a trust that is of the United States. We are referred to as their beneficiaries in trust law, meaning we can receive benefits if we know how to access them, and our benefits and our exemptions. You could say that the current economic system has been set up for our benefit to repay us as the beneficiaries of the trust. Our goal now is to determine how to effectively use the system without destroying it, right? Never forget, there is no money. Before we get into the main topic, I want to say a bit more about money. I take the position that there is no money, or at least no money of substance in our current economic system. You may discharge with this position, and there is certainly room for debate. But for the sake of clarity, I will elaborate why I feel my position is and has some merit. One definition of money is a medium of exchange. If you want to use this definition, then I would have to say that there is no money in our economic system. We certainly do exchange money on our Federal Reserve notes, or FRNs, to get the goods and services that we need. But this definition begins to reveal the problem with what we call, quote unquote, money. The word exchange means a situation in which equal value is given between two parties. If there is money of substance, then an exchange can take place by money of substance. I mean, something that is a intrinsic value of its own, such as gold and silver, right? As far as a Federal Reserve notes go, they have no intrinsic value and can be redeemed for an intrinsic value. At the U.S. Treasury, that's important to remember, because if the government can convert a piece of paper into an intrinsic value backed by a bond, then why couldn't you do the same with our Treasury bond? All right. So we see here on this document, these notes, how they have the same numbers on the bills, E378 dollar bills, same thing in the back. This is the back of your Social Security. Same number along the bottom right corner of this. Y'all see that?
Yes.
Look closely, as you can see, their Federal Reserve notes are simply pieces of backed by bonds, numbers of U.S. citizens. People's energy generation are the resources that literally give this U.S. money any kind of value. And that value of each citizen is tracked through companies' W-4s and Social Security system that's attached to a bond account number. The concept of discharging debt is simply formulating a bill of exchange. note and utilizing that Social Security bond account number, pass-through offset account. So utilizing that Social Security bond account number to be redeemed through the U.S. Treasury and lawful money for your debt obligation. Your bond account is worth millions in digital and intrinsic value, and using your exemption to discharge obligations is your legal right provided to you via HJR 192. Write that down. Oh, back over. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Y'all got that? HJR 192. Your bond account is worth millions of digital intrinsic value, and using your exemption to discharge obligations is your legal right provided to you via HJR 192. All in all, when you take possession of your treasury bond, the concept is not to cash out, but to utilize your credit from your bond to discharge debts. Since the government can't pay us back in gold for what they owe us as secured parties, they must discharge our debts in lawful money, dollar for dollar, by giving us an unlimited amount of credit, hence to why we're referred to as secured party creditors. Hence to why we're referred to as secured party creditors. Please understand that the United States owes you this exemption as a beneficiary of a trust, and it's time we reap what's legally ours. Here's what you see on the note. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, and is redeemable in lawful money at the United States Treasury or at any Federal Reserve Bank. So, yeah, legal versus law.
Where's the bean?
You ain't got no beans?
Oh my!
They didn't give you no beans.
Sorry.
Where's the beans?
Mike, we need to do a welfare check?
Yes, sir. Oh, this day just gets better and better.
So we have the Federal Reserve notes have no substance but are redeemable in lawful money through the U.S. Treasury in exchange for a digital gold currency that serves as substance. Remember that. Let's say it is 1900 and you own a clothing store. You're selling men's suits for $20. If someone were to give you a $20 gold piece for a suit, an exchange would have taken place. Both the suit and the gold have intrinsic value, so both parties receive equal value. Now let's update the story to modern times. You have a clothing store and are selling a suit for $300. Someone comes in and gives you $300 in Federal Reserve notes. A FRN is a note. But what is a note? Note is an instrument containing and express an absolute promise of signer to pay a specified person or order or bearer or definite sum of money at a specified time. Black's Law Dictionary.
I knew I missed something in school. When we passed notes in school, it said, didn't you want to be my girlfriend or my boyfriend? Now I missed it all.
Notes.
So a note is just a promise to pay. So you can't discharge a debt with the fiat. It has to be a gold or silver or something of intrinsic value. So a note is just a promise to pay. See, the debt ain't even paid. It's just, I'll pay you one day at some future date. It is a debt discharging instrument. An FRN is a pledge on the part of the government to pay a debt. This means that every FRN in circulation is actually a liability of the federal government. It might appear to be an asset to the one holding it, but it just means that the government will pay off the debt someday when there is substance. Which is what, Fort Knox? So FRNs are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States, which leads us to the HJR 192 that gives us the right to lawfully discharge debt dollar for dollar, utilizing our $1 million bonds backed by U.S. Treasury. In 1933, and with the HJR 192, they took all the gold, all the true money, all the property, and instituted it in an eminent domain and property taxes divided land titles. So all the property, and instituted the income tax to control the labor of the people. Didn't we just play the video that talked about the income tax and labor?
Yep.
Yep.
See how they got you?
And my
So
beans came downstairs.
That'll work.
Oh, good.
He's a 14-year-old.
Well, that's Butterbean, right?
That's right.
Aw.
So in addition, with the HJR 192 is when they instituted the birth certificates to control the people and have the future American people become the collateral for all the federal government's debts. Yes, that's right. Your birth certificate is the title to your body, and it has been pledged as an asset to back U.S. dollars. It's like taking your car title and giving it to your bank for a loan and letting them hold it until you pay it back, right?
Right.
And title for your house, title for your car, you got your birth certificate. So what is the effect of using unconstitutional what is the effect of using unconstitutional legal tender? And what we're seeing today is the egg prices, right? We're going back to 1962. You can
Going
get
backwards.
4 shares of IBM stock. You can get 5,000. I guess this is 5,424 eggs. I don't know. or cartons. But $1,942 U.S. silver certificate note, 1,900 should equal that. And we go down, it keeps going up. Right. So everything costs more. And that's where we're at right now, right? So to summarize the points that have been made here, the only kind of money in our economic system is credit or promises to pay. When you use a credit card, you are using credit, which is a promise to pay. When you write a check, you are promising that your bank will honor it and transfer credits from your account to the account of the party to whom you wrote the check. When you give Federal Reserve notes for goods and services, you are giving a promise to pay made by the federal government. So all we really have is a promise to pay. There is no lawful money of substance in our economy right now. When one officially becomes a secured creditor and a lien holder over their bond, they can lawfully discharge debt dollar for dollar, according to HRJ 192. Now that we know what we have the right to do, let's discuss the process of enforcing it, right? Here's a public policy, HCR 192. Joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, June 5th, 1933. We go down. So when you get this document, you want to highlight every provision contained in or made with respect to any obligation which purports to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency. This is just like the Constitution says, silver and gold, or in an amount in money of the United States measured thereby is declared to be public policy. And no such provision shall be contained or in or made with respect to any obligation hereafter incurred. Every obligation here therefore or hereafter incurred, whether or not any such provision is contained therein or made with respect thereto, shall be discharged upon payment, dollar for dollar. All right. Public policy, HDR 192. You print that up, put that in your folder.
Sheepdog, tell them what you're reading again.
How to discharge a debt.
How to discharge a debt, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So using a bill of exchange to discharge debt, we suggest that you be extremely judicious in the use of BOEs and only use a BOE if it is in conjunction with a conditional acceptance affidavit where the creditor must prove their claims before negotiating the BOE. The purpose of this file is to create documents, a bill of exchange, letter of advice, etc., that can be used to discharge debts. A bill of exchange, BOE, cannot be used to buy any item like a car, house, stereo system, big screen TV, $6 million gold toilet, etc., etc. A BOE can only be used to discharge pre-existing debts. At this point, we believe that some sort of loan would have to exist or credit used to purchase the item first, and then a BOE can be used to discharge the loan debt. We say discharge rather than pay a debt because since 1933, we have only had the ability to discharge a debt. Joe brought this up several times, right? The basis of all money in circulation in America since 1933 has been a Federal Reserve note backed by no gold. A note is basically just a debt instrument, a promise to pay. Common sense tells you that you can't pay a debt with a debt, right? You can't pay off something. You can't use fiat to discharge a debt. A Federal Reserve note or any other promise to pay. The foundation of our ability to discharge a debt is using a BOE is House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5th, 1933. If you are not familiar with this legislation, you should. We will use a BOE to transfer creditors' debts claims to control of our trust in exchange by paying it off with our Treasury bond account. How creditors respond to BOEs? All right. The most frequent question is The most frequent question in the mind of anyone who wants to use a BOE is, how will the creditors respond, right? Don't we get that a lot? Well, what are they going to do? What are they going to say, right? First, we should say that we don't know of a single instance in which anyone has gone to prison for issuing a properly executed BOE. But we must also say that, in many cases, creditors pretend they don't know what a BOE is, or excuse me, or are not going to like receiving your BOE and will likely accept your BOE and pretend they didn't receive it, not processing them or act dishonorably. We've said that the creditor in most cases won't like your BOE. This is because they have been accustomed to receiving a lot of interest and principal payments on loans they made to us by lending us our own credit. Ain't that crazy? So you have the credit and they switched it around and now they make interest off of your credit and you double pay.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I was just seeing if you're still alive.
Yeah, I'm just listening.
All right, here we go. Said another way, they have pretended to loan us money, then ask us to pay back the principal with interest, when, in fact, they loaned us nothing for their own assets, but instead our own strawman accounts. When we use the BOE to discharge the purported debt, we cut off their supply of all the profits that they think they deserve. At this stage in the use of the BOEs, it is hard to predict exactly how a creditor will respond. But you need to be prepared for the possibility will act as if you have never paid them. Also, before we can discharge any debt, we must first understand that we are the holders in due course, the middleman, meaning you are the first lien holder and also the decider as to what happens to your estate when claims and charges are brought against it. As the holder in due course, you can either reject the claims or accept the claims brought against. In the case of discharging debt, we want to accept the claims for their full value so that we can discharge them with our bonds. This is the first packaging going out to your creditors, and they will have 14 days to correspond, along with 3 days to legally reject your presentment according to the Truth in Lending Act. So here are the steps. So here's the steps to the. Please make sure to mail these packages certified mail with a green slip. This is highly important. How the exemption process works on the private banking side. Number one, the vendor sends customer a bill statement. Number two, the customer accepts for value the bill and sends it back to the vendor. Number three, the vendor sends the acceptance to their personal bank for processing. I'm trying to see if you put it in the screen. Yeah. Number four, the personal bank exchanges records with the Treasury on behalf of the customer, and the Treasury sends them a certified check, lawful money, from that customer's bond account to cover the charge. In fact, let's look at the definition of lawful money, and it'll tell you right in the definition how the Treasury issues lawful money on behalf of Treasury bonds. Those bonds are yours, people. Those bonds are yours. A definition of lawful money, any form. This is your rainbow currency, doesn't it look like it? You see it right there with the monopoly. Then we have the comms whenever the Luigi shot the healthcare worker. His backpack, he had the monopoly money in it.
Yep, the rainbow currency, right?
Sure. See it? Yeah. Right there in the middle.
Yep.
Okay, definition of lawful money, any form of currency issued by the United States Treasury and not the Federal Reserve System, including gold and silver coins, Treasury notes, and Treasury bonds. This is your discharge packet and instructions. I'll have this sent out. Cover letter, notary present, letter of advice, certified copy of the HJR 192, notice of entitlement of rights, template, notice and demand to validate debt claim. 7, accept your bill statement. Remember, since we are accepting the claims, that means we are transferring the debt to our foreign trust as our property now and lawfully paying it off in exchange with our bond. In order to effectively add this property to your trust, you must use a UCC-3 amendment to amend your original non-UCC1 filing. You can see an example below, instructions. This AFV statements is to be printed or written on top of billing statements with the money order, supply payee info, and money order template. All future AFVs are to be done in the foreign EIN or the state estate EIN. This document is to be registered on a UCC-3 with the Secretary of State. Example template right here. Creating a medium of exchange, aka bill of exchange. When you go into a bank, you don't just say, I'm here to discharge a debt with the law. You have to actually use an instrument. Federal Reserve note, bill of exchange, as a medium of exchange. With this BOE, you're basically creating your own form of money, credited back, because this is the private way for paying obligations. Print this on the bond paper. On bond paper or certified paper, both can be acquired at an Office Depot or something to that nature. And again, these are to be used to discharge debt and not to purchase items. Fiduciary instructions. This form is to be used to instruct the appointed fiduciary to lawfully discharge a debt and balance the books. That's a template for that. The most crucial step, please don't forget this one, the UCC3 amendment filing. Before we can officially use our mediums of exchange, we must first register the instruments documents through our original UCC1 contract trust agreement with a UCC3 filing made with the Secretary of State. This is important because you are transferring the property or debt to your trust, accepting it for the value as yours. And the Secretary and Attorney General signs off on it, preventing companies allegedly to foreclose or take your legal possessions. Remember, the Secretary is the highest notary in the land. And once they file your UCC3, they're basically saying your instruments are authentic to be utilized in the commercial system. Think about it. Federal Reserve notes are only deemed suitable for everyday transactions because the Secretary registers those instruments through the United States Trust that are later backed by the U.S. citizens' bonds. In order to fill out a UCC3 properly, follow the template below. You got all the templates, IRS 1099 form. Remember to list the bill of exchange number on the UCC3. It's no different than using a check, draft, and identifying the check number that applies to it. Where I listed $10,412 in the UCC3 example, that's where you put the discharge amount. Yeah, I will. I'm trying to find where I listed the UCC3 example. Right here.
Yeah, it's been blacked out.
So we have IRS form 1041, ES tax form. This form is used to satisfy any and all debt obligations on security instruments issued to a U.S. Treasury. Got the template. IRS 1041B tax form. This form is used to satisfy any and all debt obligations on security instruments issued to U.S. Treasury. IRS W8, example 15, attached a certified copy of your original UCC1. You get the certified copies can be acquired by the Secretary of State for usually about $1 to $5. And you'll only need copies of the financing statement and not all of the attachments. 16, attach a certified copy of the UCC3 you just filed. Attach an affidavit of mailing. Affidavit of mailing located on the second page. So key to remember, you must have an affidavit of mailing signed, sealed, and mailed off by your notary who serves as a third party witness to your affairs. You can have the receiver return their correspondence to either the notary or your P.O. box. Always mail each discharge package to, and then they have the Steve Mnuchin's address, 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Y'all notice how the zip code is in the kill box?
Yes.
That's how you know the de jure. Yeah, that's how you notice the de jure from the de facto, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Takes you out of Washington, D.C.'s jurisdiction.
Right. The corporate jurisdiction, right.
I wish I'd have known this in elementary school that this was the kill box. My teacher would have been
so impressed. Right?
Box right there. So duplicate package to mail certified with a mail receipt to the creditor who originally sent you the account statement. Notes have the next mailing packages to the creditor already lined up and ready to ship out for whatever they respond or not. Again, it says have the next mailing packages to the creditor already lined up and ready to ship out for whether they respond or not. Remember, it's always better to use the notary as a third party when doing an affidavit of mailing and have them mail it out and have them mail out your paperwork for you. You can inform the creditor to mail you back at the notary's place of business of your P.O. box location is fine.
All right. So what Sheepdog is just shared with y'all, and he's got some more, I think.
That's about it. I mean,
All right,
if
he's
they
going
want
to share
if they
this
want-
link out. Okay, but people that are in becoming strapped before this system flips and collapses, you need to have this information to discharge the debts. Okay, it's also the thing that we're teaching with the trust. The way to do it through the Constitution and the trust. Okay. Tomorrow night we're having a live Q&A on the second class, and then we'll get on into transferring title and relieving yourself of the matrix after that. But this is good stuff to have, along with what Joe has been sharing on the different shows, to carry on and get rid of this debt while so you can breathe and break the paper chains and get yourself taken care of and so you can move forward when the good stuff starts happening, right? Thank you, Sheepdog. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm just rolling it across the screen so you can pause it and read it some more. But I'm just going to finish it all the way down to the bottom scrolling. There's still a little bit more to go. Not much more. Notice of default and declaratory judgment. It says after you send in your last package of documents and still get no correspondence after 10 days showing they cleared the debt or just simply sent you back a rebuttal, not answering the key questions of your affidavit point for point, then they are now in notice of default. And you can submit your evidence into the district court as proof that you have perfected a claim against the creditor with an official certificate of non-response approved by the notary. Right? So after 10 days. The key is to show the judge that all the evidence and prove that you tried to lawfully settle the matter between you and the creditor that defaulted, and now his judgment will legally have to set the record straight. Once you get the judgment, this is how you enforce that the claim against you can be discharged by the creditor and bureaus. What is a notary declaratory judgment? Declaratory judgments is a judicial proceeding to declare rights of parties who disagree about their obligations. The disagreement often arises from the terms of a written agreement, but can also arise under a statute or other obligations imposed by law. Typically, many creditors rarely respond to any of your mailing requests because legally they can't. So what you're doing is building a verified record over time that will show that the entities laying claim to your property completely ignored your request and thus acquiescence through their silence, agreeing to the terms and conditions and stipulations stated in the letters that were sent out to them. Having this verified record in itself is enough to constitute an administrative judgment, but it does not mean that you can immediately go out and begin publicly recording recessions and other instruments altering the title of property without properly completing the administration process. All right. So here's the layout. Non-judicial private administrative process flowchart. Contact instrument tendered, request regarding a statement of account, affidavit of service, affidavit of non-response, notice of fault, opportunity to cure, request regarding a statement of account, affidavit of service, affidavit of non-response, affidavit of service, keeping an original record of your claim with you and your custodian's records. So on the chart, this is the chart. On the chart is where we want to strive and be with the creditors. Get a certified copy out of the filing from the federal district court, and you can send records of this judgment to the credit bureaus with a notice of disputed items and notice to remove derogatory items, notice of disputed samples. This for your credit bureaus. Keep your records and files handy in case your original creditor's company sends a third-party debt collector after you. If they send you any more mail or threaten you or your property after your declaratory judgment, you can send this intent to sue letter. And then it has a keep copies of all correspondence so that you can start invoicing them for $1,000 per telephone call, a letter or a threat, and $10,000 per court case that you have to respond to. If they sue you, open up an answer and counterclaim, rebutting all their points with your evidence. Keep in mind that discharging debt is not solely based on if the creditor will permit you your exemption, but more so of enforcing it through an administration process. You have the power, not them. Also, this process can be used in many commercial circumstances outside of discharging bank loans, mortgage debt, but civil criminal court cases as well. Try to keep in mind not to procrastinate and do everything within 60 days after the first date of mailing contact with the creditors. Quick notes to remember. Try not to discharge small monthly service bills like cellular, cable, electricity, etc. directly with the BOE. This is because the UCC process, at least in Texas, can sometimes take a few weeks before clearing. And some companies might try to cut your service off before you can properly execute the process of sending your first package presentment. Instead, try using multiple credit cards to pay off small service payments, and then turn around to discharge the debt off those credit cards instead. A way to build credit is to take your future paychecks and convert those into secured credit cards. This is because your cash can now be converted into an asset to now get you more credit to discharge and reset it again. This is all about banking and financing now, but most importantly, it's about knowing the law and enforcing your rights as a creditor. Getting our first fact trial. Okay, we recommend discharging your family's major assets first, your house, your cars, etc., and then use use those to acquire new equity lines of credit that you can constantly discharge over and over again. The name of the game is build your credit plus acquire new assets plus discharge them with your treasury bond. Use digital, lawful money to acquire tangible assets. If one of your secured credit card providers ever does decide to close your secured credit card account, then have no worries because the bank still has to return your original asset since your previous obligation with that company was lawfully discharged and settled according to HJR 192. They could only keep your money if you never return the funds to the institution, but that's not the case if you properly perfect the administration process. Do not attempt this discharge process with a vehicle or mortgage if you have not properly filed a UCC financing statement to protect you. The UCC is literally a public financing statement showing a lien of you transferring the property debt from the creditor to you, the debtor, approved by the Attorney General. This makes it a lot harder for greedy creditors to foreclose on property or try to also, keep in mind, the letter should almost stop immediately after the first package. And each bill of exchange takes roughly 3 months to mature with the IRS and to successfully process your transaction. Congratulations, you are now complete, and even the judge has signed off on your discharge. This document was prepared by Chief Cortland KLNL Nation of Liberation de Ouachita. So did a really good job preparing this. Well, I have this sent out as a PDF. We'll also have it in the other platforms as well for everybody to grab and use as a template, and maybe even help explain to your loved ones or something. Educate them, right? If you have somebody that's hard-headed, if you don't have something put together, that they may need to see something on writing. You show them this. And then you got the HDR 192, other documents in here. Right here. Shall be discharged upon payment, dollar for dollar. That's it.
Yeah, that's great information.
Why do you think you've been able to get away with not paying or filing your income taxes for so long?
Well, first of all, I've not gotten away with anything. I'm not hiding from anyone. I'm simply asking the IRS to show me the laws that apparently require me to do these things, and they are suspiciously reticent to answer questions from me. And of course, there are millions of other people, many other organizations who have attempted to get answers. They act very suspiciously when asked to simply sit down at the table with the American people and discuss what their obligations are. Right. Rather than pulling up a chair, they pull out a club.
In 2005, the illegal tax on your labor collected to $927.2 billion. The legal corporate income tax collected was $278.3 billion.
These liens that are recorded against people by the government for tax liens are nothing more than allegations. They are non-substantive. They have never been determined by a neutral third party, such as a court, to have one shred of validity.
If you ever get a notice or of an audit or anything else, the first thing you should do is a Freedom of Information Act request for records that they're using to substantiate or justify the audit.
There is nothing in the Internal Revenue Code that creates any such thing as an income tax evasion or crime. There's nothing in the code that allows IRS agents to seize property. The government is involved in judicial blackmail. The government knows that if it legally seizes somebody's property, that person doesn't have the funds and he can't even get a lawyer who can help him.
I conducted investigations in the Title 18, the criminal code, the U.S. criminal code. And in there, the statutes and the regulations are very specific as to what's violating the statute. In the Internal Revenue Code, Title 26, there's nothing specific in there. I mean, even the FBI is feared the IRS.
You have to understand that an agency which will unlawfully impose a tax that doesn't exist is not going to care if we, the people, don't know what our rights are. They're not going to tell us.
If Americans just...
And that's what we're here for. We have to educate each other.
Yes, definitely.
Right. We got to wake up. Yep. Got to wake up out of our slumber.
You're not going to do it for us. Nope.
Got to stand in your square. That's right.
Learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
This small booklet.
Yeah, this is a repeat from earlier. There's your square. All right. That little small booklet she can hold in one hand.
Yeah.
Versus that big ass book she's looking to hold up.
Which freed an entire nation. This is the Internal Revenue Code, and this
This Constitution trumps that big ass book.
Document, and the unlawful application of this document by the Internal Revenue Service has enslaved the nation that this document attempted to free.
So now you understand why this document is so important. The U.S. Constitution of the United States of America and your state constitution. That's it. Huh? Yeah, I'm done.
All right, so I'm envisioning you and Mr. Sheepdog in separate rooms with two Libby soup cans and a string in between. That is so good. That is so good. I love you guys. um, oh. So when I got my phone call a while ago, guys, I'll be able to share what that was about on Wednesday's show, hopefully. But I was confirming something that I think everybody's going to want to know, of course. But I appreciate the Sheepdogs stepping in and doing their thing and sharing with y'all as well. Some good information they shared as well. The conversation that I was having earlier was about all of this coming to a head. So we got Fort Knox, right, with the U.S. dollar collapse, probably with that. We got the Pope on his deathbed for the 6th time. We got the whole court piece that we shared with you again tonight. And we got the we got the Doji corruption, be the Doji showing all the corruption with the money laundering and the slush funds and all of that, the taxes, all of that coming down as well. You know, I've been sharing about property taxes and so on and so forth for a long time. And today I was cruising through a couple social media channels, one of them being Facebook and the other one being Reddit. And there's some people on there who insist that, you know, we can't stop paying property tax because it goes towards schools. I said, so they're stealing our tax money from us through property tax. They're actually making you pay a lease on something that you already own. And you think that our education system being one of the worst in the world is what funds what gets funded through the property tax. And I just really couldn't wrap my head around that anymore, but I guess some people still believe that way. And yeah, absolutely, we pay school taxes too, right? And you know, well, some of us don't, but we did, right? So discharging debt doesn't just include your credit cards and stuff, folks. We got to tell the IRS to go take a flying leap, or the U.S. government to go take a flying leap when it comes to the whole tax thing too. Okay, just like them. And you know, I want to remind everybody real quick about the documentary, The Great Taking. Okay, shutting down these courts and firing these judges top to bottom. That are corrupt, and retraining the ones that need it, so they can bring it back up in a common law setting, the supreme law of the land, right? God's law, or natural law, right? Is, you know, one of the things that we need the most, because the great taking is kind of happening already, but I don't think we're through the gist of it yet. As far as that goes, yes, we're going back to the republic. Yes, the U.S. dollar is going to collapse. Yes, debt forgiveness is going to happen. The SARA is going to happen. Okay, but we still have to learn how to protect ourselves, because they're just not going to give it to us. We got to learn. Your birth certificate is a security, that is a title of property. Okay, and you need to get ownership of it, and take that ownership away from the people who usurped it to make money and tell you were broke, right? Or that you needed good credit in order to make it in this world, right? When they've been using your good credit collateral, as in your birth certificate, to absorb the debt that they in fact created. Okay, with the selling of bonds in your name. All right, some of that was shown in Sheepdog's message. He just shared, on debt, getting rid of debt. All right, he showed you where the Social Security custody number on the back matched the number on the U.S. dollar, and how they just removed the E so that you didn't have control over the state, but they did with monopoly money. And that's another thing. The collapse is going to shut it all down, folks. That's why we said if there is a bump for Social Security folks, hang on to most of it, because we'll be a couple weeks without all of it. Okay, without goods and services being transported and ready available, unless you're in need. Remember, the contingency plans are in place. The ETs, for lack of a better way to put it for right now, because that story is really still unfolding in a lot of different angles, a lot of different viewpoints on it. But there is no doubt there are sentient beings, people in higher consciousness. Some of them look like us and some of them don't, that have access already to the advanced technologies that we're all waiting for, right? Are going to come and be a part of that contingency plan. They will serve from the sky, okay? The people in need with food, shelter, and clothing, the basic needs, right? That includes all the oxygen needs and the needs of the elderly as well, because it's all coming down. And it's going to look like we're starting from scratch, but we're really not. What we're starting from scratch from is basically, in this phase, we're going back to the republic. So the opportunity for the great taking is still there, okay? So we protect ourselves by learning how to trust, do our own banking, all of these things. Also understanding the stars, okay, which we're going to get more into in the class as well, because the spirituality of this is huge, okay? It's so huge. Not recognizing yourself as a U.S. citizen is huge. I mean, when I said last night that all you got to do is I hope I said that on the show last night, on the show. If I didn't, I'm saying it tonight. But in order to protect yourself in the coming changes, all you have to do is make a social media post that says, "I'm not a U.S. citizen." Once you post it, it is time stamped and dated. That is your accord. Okay. Yeah, you may have been caught up in paying taxes, and now we're finding out that that's part of the trap that they want you to recontract with, especially when it comes to these Doji checks. Y'all, please be careful. I know some people need them, and I can't deny that. Okay, none of us are going to deny that. But, there's little things that we can do to protect ourselves and help one another. Okay, and remember, if you hold out, if you can, on these doji checks and stuff like that, there's far greater coming for you. Okay. And we will unite as one and help one another. Okay. This collapse is going to be tough. All right. It's going to be tough, but it's going to be good. It's really, really going to be good. The whole court piece where people are losing property that they worked all their lives for, and stuff like that, along with unlawful criminal charges, right? Like statute laws being enforced, like speeding tickets and so on and so forth. All of that stuff. These insurance companies, they're about to get their dues. They're about to get the energy that they gave out all these years that helped feed these slush funds. NESARA is coming from Saint Germain, like we said years ago, but we didn't know how because the narrative got corrupted, right, about Saint Germain. The regurgitated stuff about NESARA is just that. It's regurgitated stuff. Okay. There's some aspects of that regurgitation that are actually going to take part, but every bit of it is fluid. And as this stuff unfolds, it'll all be fluid. No, when the dollar collapses, they have no choice but to announce the bankruptcy of the United States to the masses. Okay. And we don't have to be crazy anymore, at least on that part, until the rest of it unfolds. Right. But it's still a process to get where we're going. We're going to have to learn to manifest how we get there. Okay. And many of us are learning that. And that's why the talk about understanding the celestial schizoelastic calendar and if I said that correctly, calendar and numerology is very important. The astrology is very important because their rituals have been done to steal that the good knowledge away from us on that. Okay. Remember in for the last couple of years, up until probably late last summer, we were sharing with everybody you need to get a 2023 Farmer's Almanac because they returned the true knowledge of when to do this and when to do that. Even opening a business has a season. Okay. And understanding that will help you create balance in all of that. If you want to open a business, you got to know when to do it. Right. And so on and so forth. We've learned a lot, folks. Everybody who's stuck around this for a long time through the ups and downs, we have learned a lot. I am so proud to be a part of this group. And excited for the coming changes with each and every one of you, because we may not agree on it all, but we all know that every good and just heart is going to prevail no matter what. Okay. I just want to share that with you tonight and get the full scope of yes, we're warning everybody that this collapse is happening, but it's not really a warning. It's what we've been asking for. We just didn't understand the full scope of it until it all started unfolding. And there's still things we don't know, but I promise you we're a lot more prepared for those things than we used to be. And, here we go, right? Lady K has asked why the 2023 Farmer's Almanac, because it was retrograde to the truth. Okay. When it in the planting seasons and all of that. All right. It aligns with astrology, right? The farmers knew, right? your grandma, your great grandma, your great grandpa, they knew. A lot of these people that are up in front of these big audiences, they know too, but they're not telling you. Why do you think they're not telling you? Because they want that world to continue. All right. Good, bad, or indifferent. They want that world to continue. And for those people, it will continue. We will know nothing of it after we get going real good and our loved ones wake up and make the decision to to move forward and rid themselves of all the lies and unlearned things we once knew we thought were true, and start finding and seeking out more of the things that were true. And that starts with going within, folks. You have all the answers within. Each and every one of you do. It's going to take time for everybody to get there. Everybody's journey is different. So share the love and light. Know that many of us were called for this time, and that we're all stepping up to the plate, whether we feel called for it or not. There is wisdom to be shared. There are bridges being put in place, metaphorically between the generations to get that wisdom down the ladder. The youth, okay, these young adults, although it seems like a lot of them are lost because of the narrative, but there's actually a lot of them standing up and doing their part on their end, and we're all meeting in the middle. That's why the bridge of wisdom is so important, along with the bridge of action, right? Love you all. Hope you have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
It caught me off guard. Hold on 1 second. Good night.
Sorry about that, Sheep. I got you again.
Said, oh, no. We're out here.
Yeah.
Oh.